Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. So, I heard you like Corsair. Maybe you have a Corsair case and a power supply and speakers and a headset, and maybe you have Corsair memory, and maybe you got some Corsair cooling products going on, your CPU cooler, your RAM cooler. What else do they have? It seems like they have almost anything. USB flash drives, SSDs, almost your entire system can be Corsair. Well, guess what? Now there's even more Corsair to love. Introducing the Corsair Vengeance Gaming Keyboards and Mice. We've got the K90 and the M90. These are more optimized for your MMO gamers. More on that later. And we've got the K60 and the M60, which are more optimized for your FPS gamers. More on that later. These are some high quality gaming peripherals to go with the other Corsair stuff that you already own. Now let's start with the products that you could consider them lower end in that they're not as expensive as the MMO products, but they're also definitely more tailored to a certain kind of user. So if you are an FPS player, these are probably going to appeal to you more than the MMO series, that is the 90 series. So let's start with the M60. This is the Mouse 60, or M. And what makes it more optimized for FPS? Well, a couple of things. Unlike the M90, it has adjustable weights. So you've got 3 weights in the bottom, so you can not only adjust the overall weight of the mouse, but also the distribution of weight in the mouse. And any FPS player will tell you that it is totally a personal preference thing how much your mouse weighs in terms of your reaction times, your wrist strength, and optimizing it for your personal experience. Now, you do have a couple programmable buttons, including ones that can adjust the DPI on the fly, high quality metal scroll wheel with a nice rubber grip, but the pièce de la résistance for this particular mouse is definitely the sniper button. So that's the red button on the left side that dramatically reduces the sensitivity when you're scoped in, particularly useful for games like Battlefield 3, where you're going to use a dramatically different sensitivity setting for firing from the hip and running around versus what you would use when you go prone, zoom in with your sniper rifle, and you're trying to make a long distance shot. Now let's talk about the K60. So the K60 has a very similar overall build to the K90. However, there are a couple of key optimizations. One is the rubberized grips on the spacebar, as well as the WASD and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys. The keyboard includes not only the rubberized ones, you can see I've put on the WASD and not the number keys, but also the regular keys. So you can choose whether you want to use this feature or not. Not only are they rubberized, but they're also contoured, so you can easily find the correct keys. This is maybe not as relevant for WASD, but definitely a factor for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, especially if you have particular utilities or weapons bound to those buttons and you don't want to accidentally press the wrong thing. It uses a solid aluminum backplate, and it has your standard features you'd expect on a gaming keyboard, like the ability to turn off the Windows button and full media controls, including volume up, down, mute, as well as stop, forward, pause, play, and behind and rewind. Reverse, previous track. You know what I mean. Now, before I get into the K90 and the M90, I'll mention a couple things I did miss. One is that we have a USB 2 pass-through, so there's no hub built into the keyboard, so you'll get the full USB 2 data rate through that port. Great for passing through to your mouse. There is also an included wrist rest, which holds your alternate keys for the 1 to 6 keys, as well as the WASD keys, and is perfectly positioned for your hand to be more comfortable while you're gaming, and also holds the tool for removing these keys and replacing them with the other ones. Now let's get into the MMO products. So what makes them MMO? Rather than focusing on features like perfect positioning of WSD keys so you can feel what you're touching, they have gone with more keys overall, more programmable keys on both the M90 and the K90. I would consider the K90 an overall higher end product, though, for a couple of reasons. One is it does include a very high quality wrist rest that has a great soft touch rubberized feel. The next is that the keycaps are using laser etched letters. So what that means is they could never wear out no matter what, because the letter goes all the way through the entire keycap. That also means that the individual backlights, that is the LEDs that are installed on almost every single key on the keyboard, look amazing because they shine right through the key. And you don't have any of those hot spots or cold spots when the LEDs are closer or further away that you see on a lot of keyboards. Hopefully we'll do a night shot overlay here so you guys can check that out. A couple of the other additions, in fact pretty much the only other addition, is the program programmable keys on the left. You can see that they are at a significantly lower height than the rest of the keys. This allows you to easily feel when you are touching the bank of 18 programmable keys and when you're using your control or your escape rather than accidentally pressing the G3 or the G18 button. You can also set up to 3 different profiles for this entire bank of keys using the included Vengeance gaming software. Now let's have a look at the M90. The M90 is actually one of my favorite pieces out of this entire set personally, because even though I'm not much of an MMO gamer, it has a lot of value to add overall. It's quite a heavy mouse, and the solid aluminum construction of the base will do that to a product. I mean, that can actually be said of all of these products. Considering their class of product, they're quite heavy. It's okay. But the overall construction feels good. So it's in much the same way that an iPhone 4 is heavy, but it feels really good. You don't mind it. So the M90 adds just a shed load of buttons on the left side of the mouse. And what's cool about that is we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buttons over there, but you can easily feel when you're pressing a button and which one it is. When you compare that to competing MMO mice on the market, it is much easier and more intuitive to use this particular one. You've also got your front and back buttons, or rather not front and back buttons. You've got 2 more buttons up here at the top left, which are easily accessible even if you do have relatively short fingers, and a DPI sensor switch right here, as well as the solid metal scroll wheel and ergonomic shape. It's also backlit on the back, which looks kind of cool in the dark, as well as the blue backlighting inside the scroll wheel. Now, all of these features are great in theory, but without the Corsair Vengeance software, none of it works. So let's go ahead and have a look at it. It can be used to manage not one, but multiple products that are plugged into your system that use this particular interface. So here you can switch between them at the top right. There's the keyboard, there's the mouse. Let's take a look at the mouse. So you can assign your buttons, including macros or just straight replacement functionality. You can manage the performance of the mouse in terms of the DPI, as well as the different settings that are available, 1, 2, 3, and sniper. I think I've got both the M60 and the M90 software installed in here right now, so bear that in mind. You can test the quality of your surface. You can adjust angle snapping. That's a big one because some people like it, some people hate it. So being able to turn it off and on is great. You can also manage the different profiles, and then you can import and export them to and from the mouse, which is another handy thing. For the keyboard, you see pretty much your standard keyboard stuff. You can adjust the backlight brightness, which you can also do on the M90 mouse. You can turn it on and off. You can also adjust the functionality of all of your G macro keys as well through the simple interface. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you for checking out our little showcase video of the K90, M90, K60, and M60 Vengeance gaming peripherals from Corsair. Don't forget to subscribe to NCIX Tech Tips for more videos from your favorite online retailer, ncix.com.